I think the basic premise behind the Arrow format really generated itself out of the fact that there is, we didn't know this at the time, but we began to feel this through a number of years of research, that there was this coalition building of disenfranchised listeners who were brought up after the Beatles broke up, really, who really had no one place to go on the radio dial to listen to their favorite music, specifically from the 70s. We came up with a number of different varieties of 70s formats, all different types, and one of those types was this mix that has gone on to be successful called All Rock and Roll Oldies, which essentially combined the hit rock songs from the era of primarily the 70s, but with some bleed over from the late 60s and into the early 80s. Loosely expressed, Arrow is a combination of classic rock and AC in a sense, because it's very palatable rock music for an audience that is in their 30s. People who like the Grassroots, who also like Led Zeppelin, who also like Journey and Boz Scaggs, found that they would have to hit the oldie station for the Grassroots, and they'd have to punch around for these other favorite songs. And Arrow is very different from an AOR or a classic rock station in that it is not artist-oriented, it is song-oriented, and our listeners who get it are song-oriented, and they're more concerned with specific songs by the artists I just mentioned, for example, than they are about the depth in that artist's repertoire. They prefer to hear the hits because these are the songs that they grew up with. We have simply garnered a cume from a variety of sources, but we have really instilled a number of quarter hours or time spent listening that really didn't exist previously to us being in the marketplace. And so we've sort of created this time spent listening audience that really was just skipping around and not giving more than 5 minutes to any one radio station at the time. It's very gratifying to see that there are people out there who feel good enough about it, the Arrow format, that they feel that they can invest heavily into it and make a major shift in whatever programming was not working for them and try to develop it. But critically speaking, unless there has been specifically targeted research about this format idea for an individual marketplace, I think it's a mistake, just like anything else, to assume that what we're doing in Los Angeles is appropriate for anywhere else. The 4 CBS Arrow stations are all very different from each other, and that's because we understand the differences between markets. When we came on the air, we learned going into it that people wanted a station that had low talk content and very little interruptions, highly focused towards the music. And again, this is born out of the fact that Los Angeles in morning radio is extensively talk oriented, especially in the younger demo radio stations, 25 to 44, which is our target. And this is a need for a music station that was there for the time being, and it's still there. No one who has been a major player has decided to change that, and there are very successful morning talk shows, whether it's Mark and Brian, Howard Stern, or any of the others. They all are providing a service. But so is Arrow now in the morning by having some personality, but primarily being music-oriented with some information. There's another interesting subject, and that is the aspect of the format that relates to the diversity of the music. And when we first went on the air in Los Angeles, and I think in ensuing months, radio industry people who came to the market after hearing about this were scratching their heads, quite understandably, about, wait a second, this is totally bizarre. I can't... Is this a classic rock station, or what is this? It didn't matter what radio people felt. It was the listeners who totally understood what this was all about. The only thing that seems to change, and it really is cyclical, is the type of songs, and this is probably common amongst most formats. Songs that are popular, that haven't been played for a while, test very well. You play them for a while, they burn out, you put them away for a while, and others rise to the occasion. And so what we've now got after over a year on the air is we have an extensive library, much bigger than what we had when we signed on. Some of it is put away and sort of frozen for a while and let rested, while others go in there and get to be aired out. And you know, we constantly are able to freshen the station because of this particular way that music lives and breathes. You know, you got to hand it to a company like CBS for having the guts to be able to step up to the plate in a market like Los Angeles and take the risk. But it's obviously been worth it for us because in the short time we've been on the air, it's been extremely successful, and I think gratifying. It really has satisfied a very urgent need on the part of many listeners in their 30s who really could not find this music except in their own libraries at home. And we frequently get calls from listeners that say, you know, as much as I enjoy my own CD collection, now I can listen to a radio station and hear my collection on the radio.